I have lived in our village, Shonajhuri, for over 60 years, and I have seen many things, some joyful, some tragic, and some that linger in the air like whispers in the wind. This is a story about a young woman named Meghla, whose wedding day turned into an event none of us will ever forget. I tell this tale not to frighten you, but to remind you that in our world, there are forces beyond our understanding. Meghla was the daughter of Gafur Mia, a respected farmer, and her mother, Rokeya Bibi, was known for her kindness. The family had arranged for Meghla to marry Jamil, a young man from Kashipur, a village just across the river. The wedding was to be held in the groom's house, as is our custom, and on the morning of Pohela Agrahayan, the first day of winter, Meghla and her family prepared for the journey. The women sang Biya Gan, wedding songs, as Meghla's aunts adorned her hands with altar, red dye, and the scent of shuli flowers mixed with the winter air. But amid all the joy, something felt off. As the wedding party gathered, an old beggar woman known in the village as Boroma appeared at the gate. She was frail but wise, a woman people often dismissed as mad, but who had a way of knowing things others did not. She approached Rokeya Bibi and, in a voice like dry leaves rustling, said, "Don't let her walk alone. She must never be left on the road by herself. Mark my words." Rokeya was taken aback. "Why would my daughter be alone? She is going with us," she replied. Boroma just shook her head. A path once walked alone can never be retraced. The family laughed it off. It was just an old woman's rambling, they thought. But had we listened, things might have been different. By late afternoon, the procession set out. Meghla was dressed in a red Benarasi sari, her hands still damp from the altar. The villagers in their best clothes accompanied her. The path to Kashipur was simple. Through the mustard fields, past the bamboo grove, and across the old stone bridge over the river. Everything went as planned until they reached the bridge. As they arrived at the river, the sky turned an eerie shade of grey. A fisherman, Mofiz Kaka, stood at the riverbank, looking uneasy. "The boatman left early today," he said. "You'll have to wait for him to return." The wedding party groaned. The sun was setting and the women grew restless. They didn't want to reach the groom's house too late. Then, one of Meghla's cousins, Sharif, suggested, "The bridge is just a few minutes' walk away. Meghla Appa can cross it and we'll catch up once the boat arrives." Meghla hesitated. She had never crossed the bridge alone before, but Jamil's house was visible from the other side and the road looked safe enough. "Go quickly," Rokeya Bibi told her. "We'll be right behind you." And so Meghla stepped onto the bridge alone. I cannot say exactly what happened next, for no one saw it with their own eyes. But this much is certain. Meghla never reached the other side. When the others arrived at the groom's house, expecting to find her there, Jamil and his family were confused. "She never arrived," they said. At first, everyone thought it was a joke, a misunderstanding. But as panic spread, the search began. Villagers ran back to the bridge, calling her name. They searched the riverbank, the fields, the bamboo grove, but there was no trace of Meghla. The only sign of her was a single red Noksha Katha embroidered shawl, caught on the bridge's railing, fluttering in the night breeze. For days the village searched. The river was dragged, the forests combed. Some said she had been taken by jinns. Others whispered of an old story about the bridge, how a bride had drowned there many years ago, and that every few decades, the bridge claimed another. Boroma, the old woman, simply sighed and said, "A path once walked alone can never be retraced." Rokeya Bibi refused to believe it. Every evening, she stood by the bridge, calling her daughter's name, hoping for an answer that never came. A month later, a shepherd boy swore that he saw Meghla at dusk, standing at the edge of the bridge in her wedding sari. But when he called out to her, she simply smiled, a sad, knowing smile, and vanished into the mist. To this day, no one knows what really happened. Some say she was taken by spirits of the river, others believe she crossed into a world we cannot see. But one thing is certain, no bride in our village has ever walked alone again.